face ever-increasing product complexity, pressure to reduce time to market, and increase productivity, and unprecedented challenges from globalization. Year 2016 opined that the public procurement brings to our attention the fact that the role of government and its financial structure are shifting and changing towards accommodating more private interest, capabilities for the production and management of public goods and services. It is obvious that public procurement reforms have not been effective in mitigating the twin contractual problem of cost and time escalation in Nigeria. With the globalization of finance, concerns about the stakes in public procurement are cut across the domestic, international, and developing countries divide. Controversial debates over public spending and national debt, democracy and corruption, bureaucratic transformation and private coercion, industrialization and competitiveness, contractual coercion and global labor market, the future of sovereignty, private military contracting are headline news in both the developing and developed countries. Just this morning I was discussing in networking, and somebody was telling me of the UN Undersecretary, she happens to be in Nigeria, expressing her concern over the growing trend of Nigeria debt profile again. Nigeria is accumulating debt again. We thought when President Obasanjo and Iwela came on board, Nigeria attained debt forgiveness, and we were jubilating. Today, Nigeria debt profile, both domestically and internationally, is increasing. Domestic debt is horrible. Estimates show the Nigeria debt profile domestically to be in the range of about 12 trillion naira. These are money owed to contractors, consultants, dated back 10 years ago. And on the foreign scene, our debt profile is in the range of about $30 billion again, and we have not stopped yet. So it's a concern worldwide, and therefore, in a scenario of debt, increasing debt profile, what is available for construction activity will definitely be limited, and therefore, you are going to face more competition. Okay, so lifelong learning concept. I've created a scenario that will warrant you to continue to engage in learning, because the climate of activity, the competitiveness, the twin problem of cost overrun, time overrun, they are here with us. Many of you who are involved in construction activities, and you battle with this. If hyperinflation in Nigeria impacts on the value that will be spent on construction. At the end of the day, there's delay, inability to meet time schedules, cost limits, and so on. Create the need for you to constantly engage your firm, to engage yourself in studying, in acquiring knowledge to be able to reposition your firm so that they'll be able to deliver. As I deal as the various nomenclature defining the quantity surveyor and the numerous functions under its jurisdiction, it is becoming clear that the training requirement needed for effective performance of these roles cannot be a single point in time attainment. While significant progress has been made to strategically locate the professional quantity surveyor in decision-making process in the built environment globally, experts are already raising alarm as to the emerging future role. Opine, that's Faniran et al. 2011, opine that the constant change in the role they play or perform in the industry pose a challenge for the quantity surveying professionals to be competitive in the construction labor market. In addressing this issue, the concept of lifelong learning is brought into their sector so that a continuous supply of upgraded knowledge and skill is ensured. Ashworth and Hawk 2007 argue that graduates who have a good technical understanding, a broader use of business skills, and commitment towards lifelong learning are likely to be in high demand. And thank you for the young man that spoke. He raised this issue. of what? Business skills, ability for you to reposition your firm, reposition yourself, present yourself. And I'm happy he raised the issue of dress code. And I think the young ones need to pay serious attention. Even right from the classroom. We've been in the forefront trying to promote what is called dress code. Dress properly so that it becomes a culture. Not when you are going for your first interview. You look absurd because you are not been used to it. So you cage yourself and you're wondering, hey, what is going on? But if you have been used to it, it flowed naturally. So I think that was a good presentation by the young man. And I hope, even the way he dressed, he was practicing what he was preaching. So I think others should follow. Okay? Lifelong learning is an emerging concept of acquiring new skills throughout the life of an employee. According to Allen and Vander Veden, study, not defined, cited in Owagen et al. 2015, nearly a third of the skills acquired by graduates were obsolete only 7 years after graduation. So take note. 7 years after you have graduated, the knowledge we gave to you in the classroom is gone. And you are your own in the practice now. So you must develop new skills to be able to face the challenges. The main cause of obsolescence could be attributed to shortcomings in the educational curriculum. And in Nigeria, there are many reasons. The season strikes, semesters that are shortchanged, they all contribute at the end of the day to reduce the lifespan of the qualification you have attained. Another study by Resta 1993, cited by Le Rose 2004, found that qualification obsolescence sets in after a mere 5 years. And with technological advance, we can postulate that your qualification could be obsolete within 3 years now. It could be. And you can see the rate of innovation being turned up. So if you are going to be in the competitive market, be ready to continue to learn, continue to study. Even there's the biblical advice. Study to show yourself a workman that what? Need not be ashamed, but what? Rightly dividing the word of truth. This professional knowledge. There's a truth there. And when you understand it, you succeed. If you don't understand it, you face it. Study. God was even commanding humanity. Study. So we are pleading with you. Study and get the message through. So that at the end of the day, you can strategically locate your firm in a position, in a comparative advantageous position, that you win the contract, you perform successfully, then more will roll. The finding of these studies affirm that if we are to be relevant and competitive as quantity surveyor, then there is the need for us to embrace the concept of lifelong learning for sustainable quantity surveying practice. Common approaches to lifelong learning. There are essentially two interwoven approaches that can be adopted for lifelong learning by professional quantity surveyors. The first approach is through aggressive research and development, commonly referred to as R&D, and the second approach is through continuing professional development. And one of the two we are doing is we are fulfilling the requirement of CPD. Research and development. Advancing the profession of quantity surveying depends on its ability to respond to the changes and adjustment in the international construction business environment. If, in this regard, it is imperative that maintaining global relevance and significant improvement require quantity surveyors to constantly review their work operating landscape in order to capture and adjust to imminent changes in areas such as their professional ethics, practices, and overall level of expertise. The Nigerian Institute of Quantity Surveyors has recognized that an avenue by which this can be done is through the promotion of research and development, R&D activities, in all aspects of the project cycle and environment required to support the changing and developing role of quantity surveyors in the wider context of service delivery, including the impact of information technology on their services. It appears that, the first speaker raised an issue, and I was glad I took him up after he made the submission. He lamented the poor level of research and development, and I slightly disagreed with him because I told him that we in the academics, we have been in the forefront of promoting research and development with respect to quantity surveying practices in Nigeria. And I'm happy to say that the Obafemi Awolowo University in the last 15 years have been in the forefront, where I personally have supervised more than 5 PhD in that regard, over 17 master's students, all working in topics related to the practice of quantity survey in Nigeria. And then he raised an issue. He said, are these findings published for the consumption? And many of these work that I'm talking about, they are published in some of the best journals in the world. Emerald, Taylor, and Francis, and so on. All you need to do is go online, Google. You'll find some of these wonderful topics that young men and women in Nigeria have worked on. They will go a long way to help your firm assess these articles and pick some of their findings and internalize them in the day-to-day operation of your company, of your firms, and I think the results will be wonderful. So thank you for that. Continuing professional development. It appears that the NIK has adopted this approach for lifelong training programs of its members, and it's been used aggressively to enlist new corporate members. The corporate strategy plan, action plan of the NIK 2015 with regard to CPD seeks the promotion and provision of an effective continuing professional development of members in construction economy and other evolving competence, and the maintenance of the highest standard of competence, discipline, and integrity in the quantity surveying services rendered to its clients and employers in all sectors of the economy. And if you pick that book, you find out what I've just said is true there. And I think the issue is not about this documentation. It's not about plans, because I'm going to, by the time we get towards detail, I'm going to shock you. In the course of preparing this paper, what I found out about CPD. So we get there, just hold on. And then, according to Klein 1995, CPD can simply be defined as the way in which professionals keep themselves up to date and maintain their standard as professionals in the practice of the work they do. RIC 2015, from an institutional perspective, defines CPD as a commitment by members to continually update their skills and knowledge in order to remain professionally competent. An important attribute of CPD program is that they have the ability to be purpose-made to suit each individual situation. A detailed description of CPD by RICS is as follows. Continue. Why did they call it continue? It's because learning never ceases, regardless of age or seniority. Professional, because it is focused on professional competence in a professional role. And lastly, development, because its goal is to improve personal performance and enhance career progression, which arguably is much wider than formal training courses. I think the RSS really, they broke it down. The emphasis is personal performance. If your performance is not measuring to all the quality control measures we've been told since yesterday, and then you need to upgrade, you need to update Many of these systems that we use, from time to time, even your handset, they tell you, sorry, that version is outdated. You need to do what? Upgrade. If the version you are practicing is outmoded, then upgrade. Upgrade by more training, more opportunities to expose yourself locally, nationally, internationally. All the facilities are there. In South Africa, the CPD program is administered by the South Africa Council for the Quantity Surveying Profession in accordance with the Quantity Surveying Profession Act number 49 of 2000. The primary objective of the CPD system as set out by the Act are to enrich professional skill while supporting development in the quantity surveying profession, to meet the requirement of the Act, to serve as one of the requirements for the renewal of registration, and to develop the quantity surveying professional as an educated society of skilled professionals. A clinical research undertaken in South Africa on the subject matter of CPD has categorized and provided us with useful information that could form the basis of an effective strategy formulation. Findings from one of such studies are examined below. In the course of preparing this paper, I also came across a document prepared by the NIQS. It's called Professional Development Policy. Professional Development Policy. I have it here. The lights are so blaring. So, if you have a copy of this policy document as a registered quantity surveyor, please let me see. Let me see your hand up. Let me see your hand. Let me see your hand. If you have it. Because the president says something. The institute can produce this document. They are not for him. They are not for the archives. They are for the members to have access to them. This is just 1,000. 1,000. But do you have it? I've seen only one hand. Raise your hand if you know. Please. Yes. Please, put your hand there. What of the rest of us? The rest, you don't have it. It's almost like saying you don't have a constitution guiding you on CPD, and you want to talk about CPD. What is CPD? You know, I deliberately mentioned that it appears the NIQS is implementing this CPD essentially is directed towards new entrants. You know, I was taking some discussion yesterday. Hey, why are you here, young man? I'm here for induction. Why are you here, young lady? I'm here for induction. And induction, I talked almost about 10, and I could say that what? About 8 out of 10 is because of the induction that they are here. After the induction is over. Mr. President, I think we need to address that issue. The learning, CPD is not about so that I can be registered to practice. It's much more beyond that. It's much more. If the huge resources of putting this activity together is just for us to come and sit and get the certificate and we get registered and then we get our firms, no, we are not. But let's see what South Africa did. Let's see what they did. When I was examining this document, I found out what they have done in South Africa in terms of the activity group is already here. There are so many activity groups that you can participate as CPD in national conferences or seminars, in state-sponsored, that's state chapter now, and even firm-sponsored. So that you, within the confine of your own professional office, you can have group dynamics, networking. Roque was talking about, after the project is over, they sit and they review the entire work. Where did we succeed? Where did we get it wrong? How can we do that? Is part of the learning process. So you can do it enough. You don't wait until the end can say, come to Abuja. Only. No. The learning process is a lifelong learning. And you know, for those in academics, you have no choice. If you know you want to move up, if you want to move up, you must progress. You must learn. You must work. You must publish. We have the slogan there. You publish or what? You perish. If you are not publishing, I don't know how you're going to get to the post of a professor. I don't know how you're going to move up. Because they have standard. For you to move from lecturer 1 to senior lecturer, you must publish at least so number of papers. It used to be like that. But after some time, they raised the level. They raised it up. They said, no, it's not just about publishing. You can publish anything. You must publish, and then 60% of it must be in overseas journal. Internationally recognized. After that, they said, no, it's not just any. They set up a committee to even accredit some journals. And when they find out those journals, you know, people can do all kinds of things. They run to India and do all kinds of people, and they say, sorry, this is not, we don't recognize this one. Sorry, we don't recognize that journal. So you can see how they've been upgrading the standard. So I think when the issue of standard rising is essential to meet up with the expectation of the people. If the university says, well, sorry, if you want to be promoted, you must. You must have published in reputable, they qualify now, peer-reviewed, reputable. Those words, they don't mind words. The same for our offices. The kind of the quality of your CPD must ensure that this young man, this fellow is what? Is relevant. It's relevant. You know, when ICT was coming, they had to compel us to be ICT literate, computer literate, so that if you want to get your paper, you don't wait for the demand to prepare your paper for you. You do it yourself. So, in looking at these performances, the researcher came out with two. It's not just to say that these are the CPD that we recognize. They went further to say, is there evidence? Have you attended any CPD activity? Yes. When? How? What did you learn? And it was interesting. When they started their CPD enforcement, what they did in South Africa is that every member was deregistered. It's like, all of you, we need to revalidate your membership. And they gave a period that you must show so evidence of CPD activities. And after some time, they closed the deadline. And they found that those who could not meet it, they gave them an extension, a period of grace. And after that, they removed their names from the register. They removed names of firms. They removed names of... that is it. I will say the NIK should do that in Nigeria, the registration board should do. Oh my God, there will be uproar. But South Africa did it. And nobody... because they knew it was important. It was important. You see? So there was this evidence of, these are the activities. Which of them are important? And the finding was instructive. They found that this kind of activity we are performing now was the most important activity of the CBD. Maybe because we like to come to conferences, we like to come to seminars. But even over the years, the seminar in Nigeria and the NIQS, there is something that is interesting. There are people who get their CPD in Nigeria by prosody. Mr. President, by prosody. Because you need these 20 credit points to be registered. So what they do is that they send one of their members to come to the seminar and register for all others, collect their certificate and go back. So they now submit the certificate to NIQS for membership so that they will be inducted. Yes. Even as we are sitting here now, that activity took place in this conference. I can assure you, sir. I can assure you. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. That is service in indictment on our integrity. The young man was talking about integrity, accountability, transparency. These are the attributes of the quantities. Integrity. You say you attended that conference. Were you in Abuja? Were you in Abuja? No. So how did you attend that conference? He said, I have the bag. I have the CD. Please, young men, we won't do it. In our days, we dare not do such things. In our days, because we know what integrity, it's my character. It's my character we're talking about. Say, Jagbo, did you go to Abuja? No, yes. No, let me explain. You don't need to explain. No. You don't explain that kind of. You explain sin. You say, well, God, you know, no. You did not attend. And so you're talking of academic fraud and things like that. No. Please, let's desist. Let's stop it. If the person cannot come to Abuja, he can go to Lagos chapter seminar and still meet the requirement. He can go for a national sponsored activity. And why do you have to be fraudulent? Why do you have to be fraudulent? So let's be very careful so that at the end of the day, and so they compared those activities that were really important, those activities that people have participated in, and at the end of the day, it's quite interesting that there were some core activities that were privileged to be patronized by members. Others, not that they were not important, but for one reason or the other, and that's another issue for practicing firms. We've been talking about bringing the young ones aboard. How many firms sponsor their young men and women to this conference? It's an issue. It's an issue. Because in the universities, we will sponsor. They want you to go and be exposed internationally. And the university is not ready to sponsor. I will, with my salary, for how much? The ticket I know to Afro to the US, maybe it's about 700,000. That's my salary, even as a professor, 1.5% of my salary. Where? So they encourage young men and women so that at the end of the day, because they are investing in the human resource, firms should develop this attitude of investing in these young men. They have challenged us over the years. I'm encouraging my young men and women. That has been my habit. I know that one day I'm going to step aside. And then people ask me, how is it? I say, it's great. He said, the department, I've met people who graduated 15 years. They say, sir, I said, the department is wonderful. You can't believe what is there now. Not like in your days. Things have been transformed. Thanks to the president. He knows what I'm talking about in terms of the resources he provided to ensure that at least we are relevant and so on. And the alumni of OAU in particular, they'll be very helpful. And I know in other institutions, Yaba, ABU, and so on. So, but for those in private practice, please encourage them so that they will come and listen. And my advice, like I said earlier, when you go back from this conference, take the CD, don't archive it, access it, open it, and be able to listen over and over and over. Some of the jargon that you had may not have sunk deep, but with time, continue reading it and they will make sense. And by so doing, you are learning. That is the whole essence. Whether you are old, whether you are young, you are learning. And at the end of the day, you are investing in yourself, you are investing in your firm, you are investing. The human resources is very, very important. Remove it, your firm is dead. That is the truth. Invest in them, your firm is alive. And so on. Good. So, let's go to this document that not many of us are having. Please, before you go, try to have a copy. It's only 1,000. It's only 1,000. It is the policy framework for continuing professional development by the Nigerian Institute of Quantities. It's a policy document, which means what does the NIK say about CPD? If they ask you, supposing you go for even interview and they say, what is the NIK policy on CPD? I don't know, sir. That's okay. You don't know. You want to be a member. You want to repeat. So I don't know. Please, can you? It's just 1,000. I'm sure all the inductees today, maybe it's a requirement. They should pick one. They should pick one. And so that at the end, they will go back and see what, this is like the syllabus or what they can do, because there are many opportunities there. Individual based, firm based, state chapter based, national based, so that you can develop yourself. I mean it. Develop yourself. Yesterday we had about one man. I will not encourage you. I will not encourage you. A one-man business, you will not survive in the 22nd, 23rd century. It's not a one-man business anymore. You need to merger, integration, diversification. They are all at our disposal. You can see architects, quantity surveyors merging. You know, I was creating a scenario that I want to see. The day Console and maybe another architectural giant and a contracting giant take on the federal government, say from Ife to, is it Ijebu to? They want to do what? PPP project. So that at the end of the day, thank you. At the end of the day, they will be what? The whole and all in that project. That's the kind of project we're talking about. So get yourself ready, get trained, so that at the end of the day, we will be able, oh, you still gave me too much. I thought it was 3 minutes. Okay, thank you very much. So I can say, no, we are trained, we are paid to talk. So don't worry. Besides that, sir, I will also want the NIQS to embark on a research to find out how CPD is being implemented in Nigeria. You will find a lot of wonderful things. I also found out that this document has been prepared since 2012. And there was a session I digested last night. It talks about what will happen to the non-compliance. I'm sure you know what is there, sir. Non-compliance. It empowered the NIQS to deregister you. Then I was asking myself, since 2012, how many people have been sanctioned? 0. If you came out with a document 2012 and it's 2018, and nobody, well, it means the document is as redundant as the content that is in it. It can go for the next 20 years, nobody will. Business as usual. But if you say one person, for one reason or the other, I know under professional misconduct, the institute have dealt with some individuals and firms. But when it comes to CPD, why are we not taking action there? Because it's for the CPD is not for the institute, it's for you, the practitioner, so that you will be relevant. The NIK is as relevant. Somebody told me, say, what? The history of NIQS and professional. I said, wow. I said, for those of us from the 1980s, I said, if Weti and Isiadisu were to resurrect, and they stood here, and they said, this is an activity involving quantity surveyors, they will be amazed. Because, say what? This numerical strength, I say, yes, we have grown big. Because in those days, it's another story, so don't let us go there. So I think it's I thought there was no document, so that I was really charged to engage the institute. But when I saw this, I withdraw my bullets and decided not to attack, because it's already there. They've done a lot of work, but I want implementation. Any document without implementation is as dead. And if we are talking about lifelong learning, even this book, they mention lifelong learning there. The activity is what you can do. So please get a copy of it. I'm sure the institute will pay me for this this publicity, but it's for our good. I've got a copy of my own copy now, and it's amazing. It affects those of us in academics, research, postgraduate studies, supervision. So they are there. So in fact, we are fulfilling more than many of you that are in practice. And that's a fact. Imagine the number of people I'm supervising at the master's. I'm already doing a lot of CPD activities, and many of my colleagues are already doing it. So please, for those of you that are yet to come aboard, I will suggest that you fasten your seatbelt and continue to move. And finally, in conclusion, the roles and acquired skills, competencies of quantity surveyors has undergone astronomical changes in the last 2 centuries. However, the dynamic nature of the profession of quantity surveying calls for a lifelong learning in order for the practitioners to survive in the competitive labor market. It is quite obvious that firms and organizations will place more emphasis on the acquisition of those roles that have higher managerial values to their overall business goals. Thank you very much.
Please, a round of applause for the prof. You know, when the lecturer also finishes, you go with him with his, you know, everything. Prof, I'm still behind you. I have your thesis, your paper. I should give it to... Thank you, madam. Senior Special Assistant to Jagboro. Please, the prof is ably accompanied here by the wife, and it's a privilege to have her here as well. And of course, it further buttresses what what Waxing was trying to say earlier. You know, she's probably implementing a lot of things back home as well. Ma, thank you for the support you've shown to the prof. Prof, again, we'll thank you, we'll thank you, we'll thank you. Very quickly, we'll like questions 1, 2, 3. 3. Thank you. So start from there, please.
It's not okay. Mr. President, my learned colleagues, good evening all. All protocols being observed, I have this to say. My question goes to, with due respect, the Prof. Prof, how do we go about managing and accommodating the issue of concept of borrowing, even though we have no plan for liquidating the overriding debts in our economy. At the same time, we have a lot of problems in our projects and other economic issues that is glaring in our country today. In both the states and the federal government, we have these issues. And it becomes a stake to us. How do we go about it? Thank you very much, sir. This one.
Okay, thank you. Second question. Okay. Give it to him.
Mr. President, Chairman, I feel strongly about the profession as much as the Prof does. In view of the R&D going on in the academics, we know that this practice of quantity surveying is limited to a percentage of the world. Have we made any progress at all in trying to convince others, let me put it generally, to follow our form of construction, I mean our form of our practice in view of what is happening? And I'm quite impressed with how far we have gone in the profession. Just as you rightly indicated in your, during your paper, that things, you mentioned a few members of blessed memory, that if they were to resurrect at this point in time, they will be amazed. So could you comment on what progress we may have made since then? Thank you.
Thank you. And the very last question, that's the gentleman behind you there.
Good afternoon. All protocols duly observed. My name is Chuko Malumeze. My question is emanating from the observation that Prof made, that most QS will rather have their colleagues to pay for them in seminars like this, in workshops, just to be able to amass the prerequisite CPD points that they need to advance in the institute. And now you cannot rule that out because of some constraints that are eminent in the quantity surveying industry, let me put it that way. Because some people could just barely pay for the fees. And then the cost of logistics and what have you sometimes are higher than the fees for the workshop itself. So my question is directed to the institute now. With the development in technology, can we not have this kind of workshop beamed on the web in the form of a webinar, such that it will be beamed live on any channel on our website or on a YouTube channel, such that somebody can log into the website with a code, and the code can be procured at the same cost as the fee for the workshop, just to register, and the same participant will be able to post questions online and real time, and this can be brought up in the ongoing workshop as it is today. I think that will be a good option if they are looking towards that direction. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. Pardon? Okay, you want to ask Prof a question? Okay, let me take those three. Pardon? Oh, okay, Prof. Okay, give her the mic. Prof, I think you probably have to come up.
Good day all. Mr. President, sir, permit me to stand on existing protocol. My name is Hanifa Umar, quantity surveying student actually in the meeting. I have a question please about the CPD point. How does it count on us students that always normally attend the workshops here? How does it count on us students? Because I don't know. Sometimes we are normally told that the CPD doesn't count on us students till after we graduate from school. So how does it count on us, please?
That's okay. I think there are issues the institute we need to address. Then there are issues I will address. But the first question. The man was perturbed about the issues of borrowing and the concept of borrowing for projects and financing, and how do we go about it? States are borrowing, federal are borrowing, and so on. Well, like I stated in the paper, we have no option but to go privatized. We should go the private sector. That is the only way, because studies have shown that budgetary allocation for project finance has failed. It has failed. And if you continue to sustain it, you know, it's like the man has got cancer, you are cutting it here. One day the man will give up. So I think the way out is, if federal want to borrow, they should borrow for specific projects. Projects that will bring return. Like Professor Fem said, borrow for commercial entities. The returns can be applied to social projects. There was a year in Nigeria, we borrowed for census. How do you recoup it? How do you borrow money to conduct? You borrow money from World Bank, not just borrow from World Bank. You use it to conduct census. How do you recoup and pay back? Question mark. If you borrow to finance a road project, you can tell you will recoup over time. Or you can subsidize. How do you subsidize, what is it? Census funding? They're just consumable. Pay workers, buy equipment, and capture data. And at the end, $200 million is gone like that. How do you recoup it? So it's an issue. So if state want to borrow, let the state convince the citizens that we are borrowing this money. I remember a state that borrowed for stadia. They borrowed for a stadium. 6 mini stadia in one state over there. None of those mini stadia is completed. None of them. They borrowed 300. Let me look for somebody who worked at that area. So who's going to pay the money back? The state. From federal allocation, maybe they slash it up front. Then the states are not paying salary. Why would they pay salary? How will they pay salary? The money is taken up front. How on earth did you borrow for those kind of projects? Are the states so viable in terms of sports? Do people go to the stadium to watch football? No, they go to viewing center now. Mayo and yes, they don't go to the stadium for any of those activities. So we have that as a. So I think the state must set their priority right, whether state or federal. They must set the priority. Nobody says you cannot borrow. Borrow and spend the money wisely, so that it is not my grandchildren that will be buried the body there. Because that's what we're doing. We borrow now. Somebody will pay it one day. Possibly. One might say, okay, 20 years, Moreton, then after that, 30 years. When we get to 20 years, who is alive? My children and possibly grandchildren. So, sir, so that is the issue. And if they ask you to advise, that is the blunt truth. If you ask me for advice, I tell you, sir, don't borrow for consumable. They are investment product. They must pay back. There must be a return to the nation. Like on that. Any process to convince us? Yeah, I think my good friend. Yeah, you say, what has changed? A lot has changed. I'm talking to my colleague. A lot has changed, sir. Even as we're asking the question, somebody was already answering you. In terms of numerical strength, NIQS has grown from strength to strength. And you know that. If you are attending this conference in 1985, 1990, you agree with me that no, you will not get up to 1/4 of this crowd. And we are continuing to what? Grow. So I think that's an achievement that in my own view and from an expert view, and I think many of the young men and women that are here now are beneficiaries of the growth of the numerous activities of the institute. Whether this, how many state chapters were in existence in the days of Owete? How many? Maybe Benin, Enugu, and Kaduna, and Lagos. And I saw about 5 of them. And what was the activity there? Only the professional exam, they were noted. But we've gone nuclear, we've gone global, and so on. Okay, so I think that will have answered your question. Yeah, somebody said, well, we have no choice. We should just ask one of our colleagues to pick the certificates from there, just pay to him, and then sign them. They are signing some of the certificates now, so they will roll them back. So you go with 10, 15. You were men of integrity. The young man made it clear. I don't want to emphasize it again. I was not the one. I used to teach professional ethics, code of conduct, and professional ethics. I taught it for more than 25 years in Ife. And many of the students, they know me when you are a man of integrity as a quantity surveyor. Let your nay be nay. Full stop. And therefore, if as you are growing up, you didn't attend the conference, you got a certificate. Maybe that's certificate forgery or something like that. No, there's no way you can justify. We are not saying that you must come to Abuja to pick that certificate. There are state chapter activities. Then save for it. And you are looking as a means to an end. Save for it. Thank you for that. And finally, CPD and students. Well, madam, sorry. Don't worry. The young shall grow. I wish the institute they can record your previous CPD. So that when you are ready, they just say, okay, you've attended about 4 seminars and workshops. So you may not even keep the logbook before you get to the point of, it's not possible. So bear with us. We all pass through it. So it's not a burden only on you. We also pass through it. You should graduate, and there are procedures for you to be elected. So that's, but if the institute decide to record your attendance now and count it in your favor, who am I to say no? Good. I think I've answered all. Is there any other I didn't? Well, I think Femi need to speak on somewhere. Okay, sorry.
Can I also ask Prof?
Yeah.
All protocols observed.
Okay, man.
Prof mentioned a practice here that is carried out by some members that come and register.
Okay.
Just send people to go and register.
Yes.
And he was certain that has been done here, though he didn't have a proof, but
mercy, please. I have evidence.
You have evidence.
I have evidence.
But on a serious note, you know, on a serious note, if it is an issue, which it is, which I think it is, if what you are saying is true, I know that apart from the conscience of people who do that,
that's right,
which is what we are talking about, more people must have conscience. These days again, there's this live streaming, which goes on during conferences, so they can also watch. In addition to those who, when they purchase the the bag or whatever and the CD is there, they can go and watch it.
That's right.
But if we really want to ensure that those who have registered, or we want to be sure that they have knowledge of the contents of the conference.
The program, that's right.
What would be your advice to the NIKs? Because it's something that is very difficult to...
Yeah, that's... well, I think the young man, when he was contributing, did talk of webinar. We can... If we look at the CPD document, there are a number of activities there. Unfortunately, the Institute has not codified the amount of hours that are needed. I think they need to take a step further. You listed all your activities, but if that is how many hours to put how many days. Thank you. So it's there in the policy document. Supervision of masters, postgraduate, and teaching, lecture. Me that I'm standing here to give this lecture, how many hours of CPD is that equivalent to? So you need to codify, because that will solve the problem that is coming up of this prosody. If they know that they can aggregate the CPDs over there in their place of work, then this fraudulent practice will stop. It got to stop. Because you mentioned conscience. And these are young men and women who are being developed. It's like they don't see anything wrong in that. Oh, we are in danger. Very soon you will not see inflation of the quarter sum as being wrong, because so Madam President, ex-President, I think we can have a way out where the NIQS could package. Maybe as it's going on like that, there could be possibilities of putting it online, and members who wanted to be here, they are not here. They can have access to it in Lagos, even outside Nigeria. Technology, we are talking of technology. That's what technology is doing now. And there is video conferencing already, and Skype, all kinds of activities are so you can talk, and so it could be going on there as one of the young persons is even videoing it, and somebody in Lagos is having access to. So we know it's in terms of funding. The cities that we organize are Abuja, very expensive. Lagos, very expensive. Maybe very expensive. We know that, but I think we can